Jim, first of all, how's everything going? Roll Tide. Thank you for joining us.
It's going really good. It's going really good. Beautiful day. About to get practice in, so I'm excited.
Yeah, everything looks good at the Joe, and I'm sure you guys are glad to be at home for these next couple weeks against Mississippi State, Southern Miss with another midweek game coming up, and then the Auburn series.
Absolutely. I mean, it's always fun to play at home, not only just because like the field, you know how it plays, but also just because it's nice to always have the school and the fans support you. So yeah, home games are the best.
What's made this team different than some others that you've been on here at Alabama?
I mean, I think just the depth and maturity. It's kind of hard to complain when you got like nine or forget how many exactly it is, but it's a ton of returning players from position or positionally, and then also on the mound. Like we have our entire weekend rotation back. We got new guys coming in that are like helping us out. It's like the depth at every single position is something new for me and like my entire baseball career. It's nice to be able to put someone in different positions every single game and still have success. So and that's also just like a good formula for a winning baseball team.
And of course, you're a senior on this team, and Coach Bohannon's talked about your leadership even when you were an underclassman, and now as we get into your senior year. Do you like being one of the veteran players on this roster?
I mean, it's nice to be like comfortable with everything. Like I know how Coach Bo likes to run practice. I know how Coach Price likes to run workouts. So it's definitely better for me to be like comfortable with the staff and like trying to help them with like navigating stuff in the locker room. How everyone's feeling. Like we'll usually talk before practice about like the field, the clubhouse, and stuff. So it's a privilege for me to be able to like be in that position. And it's been a fun season so far. So
Yeah, it's been fun to watch you at the plate. We understand you went to the MLB draft combine last year. Kind of what you learned during that process and any changes in your approach at the plate this season.
yeah, I mean, I when I got home last June or wherever it was for summer, because I didn't play summer ball, I just went home and literally just started like reworking stuff with my swing. Spent a lot of time in the cage. And then when I went to the draft combine, the biggest thing that I like kind of came away with is that like uh it really like for me it is all like mental. Like it doesn't really matter what like scouts or anyone really thinks. Like I'm playing baseball because I like to play baseball. And like wherever that takes me, like I've made it to Alabama and this is a dream come true. So like I'm happy with how everything's gone so far. And so I'm not gonna let like some outside noise really affect me and like how much tension I have whenever I'm playing. Like I'm playing baseball because it's fun. And that's been a really, really big thing for me this year. It just bringing back the enjoyment of the game.
Then how about your hitting mechanics? Because it does look a little bit different for you this year compared to last year and the times before we've seen you, especially with two strikes. You're still choking up, but maybe not as dramatic as before.
Yeah. So the biggest thing for me this year was like trying to just like impact the ball to every part of the field. I had a lot of trouble in the past. It's like rolling over a lot because like my lead arm is my dominant arm, like my front arm in my stance, which caused a lot of problems getting long and cast and all this unnecessary stuff that we don't need to go into right now. But so the biggest thing for me is trying to like get back to just a short, compact swing that can spray line drives throughout the field, and then also like when the pitch is there, hit it for more power and try to get a couple more extra base hits. And so we did a lot of work, like I said, over summer, trying to use my legs, my whole body more, and get more comfortable. And then when I got back here during the fall and preseason scrimmages, they started reworking stuff with like my grip and like where my hands were at to, this is stuff that they've learned from like the coaching staff has learned from over the years, but also they had conversations with like other coaches to try to help me out. So it's been good.
Is it tough to stay patient when you're making those type of adjustments because it doesn't change overnight for you? It takes a lot of time, both in the cage and the fall games, like you mentioned, even in spring practice, getting ready for the year. Were you able to stay patient with all those changes?
I mean, it was really difficult in the summer because of how big the changes I was making, like, or how big they were. Uh, there was a lot of times like I'd go in the cage and I'd have just like a bad day of hitting, and it's super frustrating because of like, um, you know, where I know where I want to be and I know what I'm capable of, and the results aren't there, and so it's hard. Like sometimes, like your brain starts going a million miles a minute where you're like, I don't know what's going on. I can't really figure it out right now. Everything just feels bad. But I mean, like my brother's been a really big support or a big, you know, he, he's been like the stability in baseball for me for a while, just because he's had maturity. He's like played in the SEC a bunch. It's like he was the one that was always in my ear telling me like, be like, sometimes you just have bad days. Like that's not a big deal. You just got to be able to flush it. And especially when you're in the moment, like it's one thing if you're like kind of upset afterwards, but like when you're getting the work in, when you're like hitting the cage, you have to be like calm. You have to relax. It's like don't let like the past swing affect the next swing. And that was always like super helpful for me, especially now. Like even like before games when you're trying to get your swing right and you have like a bad round, it's like you got to be able to just flush it and get on the next one, because like if you let one bad swing in BP affect your next swing in BP, what's going to happen in the game? Like, so it's all about just staying like as calm as possible and very, very present and focused in the moment.
Last few years, when you went to Sewell Thomas Stadium or anywhere on the road, you pretty much knew you're going to be playing shortstop and hitting leadoff. But this season, we've seen you hit leadoff. We've seen you hit ninth. We've seen you hit sixth, cleanup, third. I mean, you've been all over the batting order. Has that been an
Yeah.
interesting change this year?
Yeah, I think it's been really fun. I mean, like, we made jokes in the locker room in the beginning of the season. Like everyone on our team was just hammering baseball. It's like you'd show up to the field and you had no clue where you're gonna hit, and it wasn't like there was no problem with it. It was just like let's see like how mix and match the lineup is, because like literally there was no right answer for like a structure in our lineup. I mean, you had every single like 1 through 9 had potential to hit a home run. They're gonna walk, like everyone's gonna get on base. They're gonna drive runs in. So like that's been kind of fun and exciting about this year. Is like, I mean, I don't think I've ever hit 4 hole in my entire life, and I got to do that in SEC school. So that in itself, my career has been made. But yeah, that's been really really fun.
Pretty cool accomplishment. Well, you're one of the seniors on this team. We talked about your leadership earlier, but right next to you playing third base has been Colby Shelton a lot this season. What have you seen from him in his freshman year as he makes that difficult transition from high school to college ball?
He is a really really like. I mean, I've said maturity a lot, but he doesn't act like a freshman. Um, I haven't seen many things like get into his head or rattle him, which you would typically see from an underclassman, especially when it's their first time playing in the league, because the SEC is such a grueling schedule, and the fans are always on top of you. So I haven't really seen, like there's obviously a couple of things that come up during the games where like you getting frustrated with at bats or whatever, but he's done a really really good job of just like we were talking about staying in the moment and being present to whatever's in front of him. I rarely see him let like at bats carry over. I mean, he's definitely more mature than a freshman should be, which is really impressive, and it's good for him because it brings him a lot of success in the field. So it's been fun to play with him.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a lot of fun as well to watch you walk to the plate at Sewell Thomas Stadium with different walk-up songs this year. A lot of players are really particular about it and demand a certain song, but you've been letting the Alabama Baseball Instagram account and the fans decide your walk-ups to some, let's say, interesting choices so far this year. What have been some of your favorite ones to this point?
If I'm being honest, the songs that have been chosen so far have been completely like out of left field. I didn't think any of the ones that won would have won that particular week. It's like our media guy Alex Thompson will come to me before the series, and I'll pick 2 songs to put on the poll, and he'll pick 2 songs to put on the poll. And usually I have a pretty good idea, I think, of what people would pick, and I've been wrong every single week. My favorite so far have been the Jellyfish Rave, the SpongeBob song. I didn't think anyone was even gonna know that song, but that one, I think that got like 50% of the votes. And then California Girls is a classic. So that one, those 2 have been my favorite so far.
Yeah,
But
even
I'm sure
share.
there's gonna be more in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. That's been crazy to see. Before we let you go, what's going to be most important this weekend for the Crimson Tide against Mississippi State?
Definitely just like consistency and maintaining like a steady nature throughout the entire series. We've had 3 tough weekends. Like I mean, I think we've had the toughest conference schedule so far. We've got Florida at Florida, Kentucky, who's just on fire, and then Arkansas at Arkansas. And I personally think we've done a really good job playing against those teams. Like it's one thing to look at our record and see that we're 3-6, but like if you look game to game, like we are right there with them, and we keep making like a tiny mistake that just ends up being the difference in the game. But like it's still really early in the season in SEC play, and so if we can limit those mistakes going forward, I think we're going to be just fine. Like our team is really good, but we're just like, again, just a step away from being great. Like if we take a couple more games, or if we take a couple steps forward in the next, like, well, really today, because it's got to start this weekend. But I can see us making a really good run in the next. We got 6 weeks left, 7 weeks left of SEC play. Yeah, I mean, we're right there. Like it's gonna be a fun rest of the season.
We'll look forward to watching it. Jim Jarvis, Crimson Tide shortstop. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll let you get to practice. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.